Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing Scoop Around the World in 80 Spaces for the Wii U. Ironically, this came out the exact same day as Cadence of Hyrule, so I'm really curious what the developers were thinking there. Were they thinking, you know what, we really hate Zelda, and we think so many people that have a Wii U would rather have this trivia game than a rhythm game based on one of Nintendo's most popular IPs. Yeah, this is gonna mark an infamous day in history, that's for sure. And I'm sure the Switch Eshop has even crazier releases. But let's compare this as a regular game. So, despite the title, this is very much a Trivial Pursuit reimagining of sorts. Basically, you select your mode, which is easier said than done because, as you saw on the first screen, some of the options are weird. Like, would you guess that news briefing was a fancy name for the options menu? Also, what's the difference between classic scoop and solo anchor? Like, what? For that matter, how would most people even know that this is a news game? It looks so much like you're playing Trivial Pursuit or Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego. So, this is primarily designed as a multiplayer game, and is kind of frustrating if you're just watching footage of it, because you can still use the gamepad, which is way more convenient than a Wii Remote in my opinion, but then if I get the answer correct, you don't know what answer I chose. You're just like, endlessly speculating, what could it be? And the other funny thing about the game is it basically reviews itself. If you just look at the bottom, they'll occasionally tell you what the game is all about, and will probably repeat stuff that I'm telling you anyway. So, almost makes me wonder if I should just edit this video and keep the comments at the bottom of the screen that say, use the Wii Remote for such and such, instead of talking like all this. But you know what? I'm going to talk anyway, because I feel like it. So, you either use the Wii Remote or the gamepad to select a space on the world map. Yes, it's the entire world. And whatever region you select, the question that they're going to give you is going to be based on something to do with that region, something or another. Like, if you choose the United States, you might have, say, Mark Twain, or something that's in American culture, which still didn't exactly make this game easy. In fact, I really stink at trivia games, and I'm really only reviewing this for the irony of the release date, and, well, someone has to review Wii U eShop games if no one else will do it. Also, this only cost 99 cents, and I can see why this would be priced so low, because unless you have a lot of friends that happen to have a lot of knowledge of world trivia, then there are still way better ways of doing it than this, because it feels like you're covering news when in actuality you're just answering questions, and half the time the news at the bottom of the screen is just the game making jokes, like when it says the priest, Pope Francis blesses thousands, and then thousands bless him, because, you know, it's common in America and English-speaking countries to say bless you when you sneeze, or God bless you if you're a Christian. The game also doesn't give you any difficulty options. It lets you choose which news source to tackle, and I do not know what that even means. Like, from a gameplay perspective, does that mean the words are going to be different at the bottom? Does that mean that certain spaces are going to be colored differently? It's also really unfortunate that the game doesn't allow you to pick the category. Like, you could have just said, oh, well, I'd like to only answer questions about food, or I'd only like to ask questions about history. Nope. This is pretty much entirely history-based, with a few random questions here and there, like what country grows corn more than anything else. And it's really unfortunate that you don't have as many options as you'd think. Sure, you can say, hey, we don't have any Wii Remote, so let's just pass the gamepad around like hot potato. Or you can choose to play the entire game on the gamepad, which is cool, and is probably the intended way of playing it if you don't have Wii Remotes, because the entire time I was capturing this footage, I had to look down at the gamepad to do anything, really. And you guys are seeing the results of my taps, but without knowing which answers are correct. So it's not exactly ideal from a spectator point of view, but then again, if you have spectators, you might as well just play the multiplayer mode. There are cards that you can collect, but it's pretty hard to tell when the cards will appear. You kind of just sort of get them on occasion, and they can be used to, say, hinder your opponents or skip a question that's too difficult, which in my opinion, might as well skip the whole game, because there were very few questions that I naturally guessed. Some of them were so random and off the wall that I kind of just said, well, if it's a true or false question, there's a 50% chance I'll get it right. And if it's a 4-part question, then there's a 25% chance I'll get it right. So that's some odd mathematics. Don't you think there could be a hint system at play? Or some way to narrow down the options? You know, real-life TV shows like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire had options like phone a friend. You know, why couldn't they just put that on the Wii U instead of this? This feels like such an odd choice. Now, granted, this game is better than, say, any of the random spin games I reviewed on the Wii U, and this is definitely one of the better, if not the best, Wii U eShop exclusive post Breath of the Wild that I've played, but that doesn't necessarily make it a good game in and of itself. Sure, the production values are surprisingly good for a 99-cent game, including the opening theme song, but it still feels like there are plenty of other options on other systems, and possibly even earlier in the Wii U's life cycle, that you could get instead of this. The Wii itself has so many shovelware type games that you might as well just get one of those at the nearest bargain bin, because, you know, Wii games are being overstocked everywhere, and you could probably have a lot more fun doing, say, Twilight Trivial Pursuit, because at least that's giving you categories that are probably a lot easier to understand than these. So with that, I say that this game is only worth it if you've scoured the world for the ultimate trivia game and you just absolutely positively failed, and then you scoured the eShop and you still couldn't find something to satisfy you. So you picked up this because you were at a last resort, which I'm pretty sure no one in the world is going to have that problem. So how about we just say skip this and find something else that's worth your time, unless you're really, 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 really curious to hear how the opening theme sounds. With that, thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and why was Just Dance 2020 announced for the Wii and not the Wii U if they're going to still make games like this? Bye!